Why does anyone need a freight broker? Why can't carriers and shippers just work together without a freight broker? And why would a shipper pay a broker extra money instead of just paying a carrier directly? Well, in this week's video, Freight Brokerage Explained, I'll answer these questions and more. I'm Benjamin Kowalski with Freight 360, where we provide the latest transportation sales tips and training videos to help you reach your goals faster. If you're a fan of the content, please support us by smashing that like button and sharing us with all of your colleagues. And for more info on our Freight Broker course, Freight Broker Basics, be sure to click the link in the show notes or go to freight360.net for more free training material. Let's start by explaining what a freight broker is. According to the FMCSA, a freight broker is the middle person between a shipper and a motor carrier. Freight brokers arrange for the transportation of property or household goods. They don't transport the property, they don't operate motor vehicles or have drivers, and they don't assume responsibility for the cargo being transported. Hence, they don't directly engage with it. So in a typical transaction involving a freight broker, a shipper will tender or send a load to a freight broker. That freight broker will contact a motor carrier that meets all of the requirements of that shipper for this specific load or shipment. For instance, like equipment type, insurance coverage, general liability, cargo coverage, the pickup times, the delivery times, etc. Then the broker will negotiate a rate for that shipment and send a rate confirmation outlining all of the details for the shipment to the motor carrier. This will be identical to the details the shipper provided to the freight broker, except for the rate. Since the broker will charge some amount of money for locating the carrier and arranging the pickup, funding the carrier, and tracking the shipment through delivery. Once the load is delivered, the freight broker will pay the motor carrier and invoice the shipper or customer. Typically, the carrier will be paid before the freight broker receives payment for that shipment. Usually, the carrier gets paid within 15 to 20 days, but that depends on the situation. Sometimes the carrier will be paid much sooner for an additional few percentage points, known as a quick pay fee. Then the freight broker will receive their money from the shipper in 30 days, sometimes a bit more. And that's a basic transaction involving a freight broker. Now, everyone always asks, why doesn't the shipper just work with a motor carrier and cut out the freight broker entirely? Well, they do. In fact, most of the shipments in the market are between shippers and motor carriers, and they don't involve a freight broker. In fact, the vast majority are. So why and when does a shipper need to use a freight broker? Well, here's one of the most common instances a shipper will have when they actually need to work with a freight broker. And we're gonna call it unexpected changes in shipping volumes. Say you're a manufacturer of this year's hottest toy, Mattel, and it's the Barbie movie collectible doll. And you expected to sell, we'll call it 5 truckloads of that toy every week from now until Black Friday. And you planned that months in advance, making sure you had enough inventory and warehouse space. But right after you launch the product, it sells even faster than you expected. Target, Walmart, and every other retailer are blowing up your phones saying they've sold out in hours and their shelves are empty and customers are complaining. And to further complicate things, each one of those retailers, they need a different number of truckloads on different days to be able to receive them. Now, this sounds like a great problem to have, right? Well, kind of. It's great that Mattel's product is in demand, right? But the issue is that you can't have retail customers, everyday people showing up at Walmart and Target to buy Barbie and they find empty shelves. That's not just a reflection on Walmart and Target, but it's also a reflection, right, on Mattel and their shipping. So if you can't fulfill your orders, they're not going to keep doing business with you. So what you do is you call your motor carriers and you ask for twice the amount of trucks every day this week. Well, if you're a trucking company, you can't just hire twice the amount of drivers overnight and purchase twice the amount of trucks. If you could, you wouldn't invest that amount of money for one customer's holiday season anyway. Why? Because what happens after the holiday season? How are you going to keep them busy? Enter stage left, the freight broker. Freight brokers will come into the market to provide temporary capacity to smooth out the unpredictable ups and downs of customer orders. They can jump into a situation like this and understand the manufacturer's requirements for carriers. Then very quickly turn around and access the open market of carriers to hire them temporarily to fill the seasonal need. The carriers in the open market win because they worked for a customer like Mattel that they didn't know needed help right now, right? And the shipper wins because they got more trucking capacity very quickly. Now, I'm going to take you through one more example. Most shippers do not ship the same volumes every week all year. In fact, some only ship for a few months, like in farming. Think about watermelons. That farm works all year to prep fields and take care of their crops so that during harvest, they can sell all of their produce. However, it's a very short time window with a lot to lose for every shipment that doesn't pick up. That farmer may have a list of carriers that have hauled for them last year and the year before, but some of those carriers, they might not be in business this year. And some will still be in business, but maybe they don't send trucks near that farm any longer because their customers that they used to service ship somewhere else. So there's a lot of change that happens in the trucking market from one year to the next. Now the farmer, right, he still needs to get every load of watermelons picked up and delivered once they're harvested. If not, they'll literally rot and be worth nothing. So what options do they have to make sure every load gets picked up? You got it, a freight broker. Most farms will also work directly with local carriers though for a lot of their freight. However, just like in the Barbie doll example, they don't know exactly how many trucks they're going to need every day. And if they need a lot more trucks on one day than the next, a trucking company cannot adjust to hire more drivers overnight. So they'll also work with a freight broker to hire additional trucks on days they need more capacity. This allows the farmer to get more capacity without risking losing product to spoilage because of a missed pickup because of a truck or maybe a truck that broke down. You see, freight brokers provide fluidity to a market that is always changing. Without freight brokers, shippers would struggle to hire enough people during busy seasons, and then they would lay them off in slow seasons. Carriers benefit by being matched up with shippers when they also have temporary needs, like when one of their direct customers cancels a load on them last minute. And the driver still needs to get home and they don't want to drive back completely empty, making no money, right? Freight brokers, carriers, and shippers all benefit from the open market created when all of them are working together. Because without freight brokers, there wouldn't be a spot market. Nobody would be there to assist when a shipper's order volumes change faster than a motor carrier can respond, and vice versa. When a motor carrier has a need and their shippers can't accommodate them by providing more loads fast enough. For more tips on building successful freight brokerages, check out our website, freight360.net, for more information on our freight broker course, Freight Broker Basics, where you'll learn everything you need to know about earning a living as a freight broker and what it takes to build a successful freight brokerage. And remember, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right.